Yeah, could you delineate those, like, kind of formally for us? AI ethics and AI safety?
Yeah, so AI ethics is all about making technology which is more fair and more robust, where we can gain more transparency into systems to understand what they're doing and for whom and fulfilling what purpose. And that transparency enables us to understand what kinds of biases might be built into the system. And we know that those biases can be catastrophic. We've seen the example of the Horizon Post Office system, which was an algorithmic management technology that was monitoring workers in the UK Postal Service. And it turns out that, dozens of people were wrongfully sent to jail because of that system, right? And people's lives were destroyed. In fact, there's hundreds of unsafe convictions. The courts are still sorting through it all.
Oh my goodness. That is an instance that I wasn't aware of, actually.
Yeah, but these things keep happening. For example, in the Netherlands, there was the Dutch child benefit scandal, whereby again a
Yes.
fraud detection mechanism was employed to detect benefit fraud, and it disproportionately affected a whole bunch of people whose first nationality was not Dutch.
Mm.
And people almost lost their children and all kinds of harrowing things, and it actually brought down the Dutch government,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah, that I
They
remember.
resigned
That's
in disgrace, actually.
yeah.
And that those are indicative of the problems of managing all kinds of issues with machines and giving them too much trust, no accountability, right? And so weaving in accountability into these systems, we can understand if something went wrong, why, what were the predicates or what were the conditions that led to that happening. And so we can put it right again. It's a little bit like jet air travel in the 1950s when you had to, say a few Hail Marys before you got on that thing because, it was exciting, but also very dangerous because we hadn't created the procedures and the knowledge necessary to shake down that whole industry. And AI is going through a similar phase at the moment.
Great
So that's
analogy.
all issues of AI ethics. And of course, we've got privacy as well, which is a really big issue in machine learning because these systems are able to cross correlate different kinds of information, little pots of info. It's kind of like a connect the dot picture, right? Like children play with, where if you have one or two dots connected, it doesn't tell you anything, but you get a few more and suddenly the picture starts to emerge. Thankfully, we're starting to get technologies which enable us to do machine learning on even encrypted forms of data, like homomorphic encryption, zero knowledge proofs, federated learning, etc. And I think just as we needed to develop SSL, secure sockets layer, the little padlock in your browser, before we could do like online banking and things safely, and you would never do your online banking today without something like that. We're going to have to implement similar kinds of security mechanisms into AI before, these things are truly ready for prime time. But we're getting there quickly. And now we have a lot of different standards and certifications that we can then weave into the mix as well. So that's the AI safety bundle. Now, a lot of people who are interested in AI safety, AI ethics rather, a lot of people who are interested in AI ethics tend to poo poo AI safety. Now, AI safety is all about trying to make machines which understand our preferences or understand our values and which are aligned with our actual goals, right? There's this old story of the monkey's paw, and I'll briefly reiterate it, but it's about a couple who find a monkey's paw in an old antique shop, and they're warned that it carries a deadly curse, but they use it anyway. It has three wishes, and the first wish is that they wish for £200, which was a lot of money, like 120 years ago. And they get their wish, but it turns out that their son has been killed in an accident at his workplace, and the £200 is actually the insurance money that they get. And then, they realize what a terrible thing has happened, and so they bring their son back to life again. But the problem is that he's now a sort of shambling revenant, right? He's not what they expected to get back, but it was the letter of the thing, but not the spirit.
Mm-hmm.
And so then they use the third and final wish to basically send the son back to his grave. And it's a cautionary tale of AI, because AI will often give us what we think we want, but not what we actually need. Or it will interpret our goals in a very simplistic way, and sometimes not even fulfill those goals, but actually end up optimizing for some sort of shortcut that
Mm-hmm. Reward
fulfills.
hacking.
Yeah, exactly. Reward hacking or specification gaming, indeed. And so these are real issues. And it used to be kind of an abstract or academic thing. But now we're starting to see real agentized models out in real life that are actually doing these phenomena, right? So we know that it's no longer just an academic exercise. This is happening, and it's going to keep happening. And so that's what AI safety is all about. It's about trying to understand these very difficult problems so that we can align human and AI interests together and continue to work with machines even as they grow in capability and perhaps even eclipse our capabilities altogether. Problem is that people in AI ethics say, stop focusing on this, future stuff. We need to look at the here and now, because there's actual real people being harmed by these AI systems, which is, it's an understandable point. Vice versa, you've got the AI safety people who say, shut up about like some algorithm being racist. We're trying to save the world here, right?
Mm.
And the thing is that both perspectives have a lot of value to them, and both are very important. And unfortunately, those two camps don't always see eye to eye. They don't always recognize the value and necessity of both of their perspectives and both of the sets of wisdom that they bring to the mix. And that's why I'm so happy to include both of those elements of AI in one tome, because very often people end up in one bucket and they don't reach out to the other one.
And I am no expert in AI ethics or AI safety, but I've heard from, so we've had another expert on the show. His name is Jeremy Harris. And he most recently was in an episode number 668. So that was right after GPT-4 came out. I did an episode with him on AI policy and alignment of GPT-4. And I listened to so he hosts a podcast called Last Week in AI, co-hosts it. And it's like a news roundup of the last week's news. It's intended for, you don't need to be a technical listener. Our show, I think, caters a little bit more towards technical, hands-on data scientists, machine learning engineers. Their show is like AI news, everything that's kind of happened in the last week. And so I love listening to it. I never miss an episode because it helps me stay up to date on everything that's going on. But Jeremy has said that from his understanding and from his perspective, that the interesting thing about these two issues you're describing, the AI safety, AI ethics, how the AI safety is more concerned with like the future state, like alignment, AGI, and the AI ethics is more present, and it's, how is this leading to the kinds of atrocities that you mentioned in the UK and the Netherlands today, unfairness, for example. The interesting thing from Jeremy's perspective, and something that he advises the US and Canadian federal governments on, is that the solutions appear to be the same. That a lot of the time, the same solutions work for both. So we can be solving today's problems while also, it seems like, potentially averting catastrophe in the future. Does that? Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's it's a very astute observation, and it's absolutely correct, because if you get better at value alignment, then there's fewer misapprehensions of the machine, right? It's less likely to misinterpret what somebody says or does in a way that is unfair, right? I mean, all of us ourselves, or maybe a friend has posted something innocuous on Facebook or whatever, and the dreaded algorithm comes and says, like, this thing that you've written is problematic in some way, right? Maybe you're talking about a chess game, and then suddenly you're talking like black versus white or something, and it's like, oh, this is racist, right?
Right.
Or maybe you went to Scunthorpe College, right? But of course, the word Scunthorpe has a rather rude four-letter word buried within it, and so a simplistic algorithm that's scrubbing out spam or whatever
Hmm.
means that your resume isn't going to be seen by someone, right?
Just went to Shorp University.
Right, right. So these are pressing issues, and similarly, if you get AI ethics in order, you should have much stronger transparency into those systems, right? So you better understand what they're doing, in what way, to whose benefit, and all of that stuff will help you with AI alignment. So absolutely, I completely agree that they are mutually reinforcing and both very important. In fact, I'd even say that they're like two columns forming into an arch, and that they need to be built up in a similar way to reach a nice goal of a stable foundation for the future.